want to move right into the meat of our webinar. I want to introduce Bruce Marks, who is the Executive Director of NACA, along with his Mortgage Counseling Director, Diego Luque, who are going to talk with us about this really innovative affordable housing program that they're doing in Selma, and that they're probably going to increase into New Jersey. And we think that this is something that is replicable and is a great idea, and we wanted to give them an opportunity to talk about it. So with that, I'm going to let Bruce Marks take it away.
Hey everybody, good afternoon. It's great to be on with all you guys. Bruce, Ellie, everybody, thank you for inviting us. So let me just do a little bit of an overview and get into the nuts and bolts. And then we want to leave as much time as really possible to answer all of your questions and get into the minutia. Because you guys are experts, and we want to have that conversation. So for you guys that don't know about NACA, we are obviously, like you guys, a HUD certified counseling agency. We do about 30% of the country's counseling. We have a state-of-the-art software program called NACA Links. And one of the things that we did with NACA Links is that a big problem with housing counseling is that, as you know, that you spend a lot of time, probably about 3 hours on the initial intake, 2 to 3 hours, inputting the information from your clients and uploading the documents. And what we've done with NACA Links is we've set up a member portal so that in our CMS system, so the member, the client, we call them members, that they put in their information and they upload the documents, and it's customized for whatever their particular circumstances are. So for example, if they are a W-2 employee, they would upload their pay stubs. If they are a 1099, then that's different. If they're getting benefits, that's different as well. And we've eliminated bank statements. So we grab the data from Finicity. So that allows us, and particularly the members, to see all their transactions, to see all their bank balances, and we submit that to the lender for underwriting. So we're looking to streamline the process. And then we will talk about the NACA mortgage at some point. And then, during the mortgage crisis, we helped over 500,000 homeowners save their homes. We did these Save the Dream events. We'd have 20, 30, 40,000 people come through these events. We had agreements with all the major lenders to modify the mortgages, and people would save, $100, sometimes $1,000 or $2,000 a month in their mortgage payments. And we currently have 228 HUD certified counselors. So let me take a step back, and Ebony, if we can show the video, it's a short video, and then we can get into the nuts and bolts of the program. Thank you.
Property values and interest rates are high. There is a shortage of available homes for sale.
Can you hear that okay?
Home developers are not
Yep.
meeting demand fast enough. Additionally, there is a rental crisis, with big Wall Street firms and multinational investors buying thousands of homes and renting them at extremely high prices. Consequently, the lack of affordable housing in the U.S. is threatening to widen the wealth disparity gap even further, as it keeps hundreds of thousands of hardworking, low to moderate income individuals from achieving the American dream of homeownership. NACA, the leading nonprofit advocacy and housing counseling organization, has been at the forefront of this struggle. In fact, for 4 decades, NACA has been fighting for economic justice by reinventing mortgage lending with America's Best Mortgage, which offers no down payment, no closing costs, no points or fees, no PMI at a below-market fixed rate without consideration of a credit score. NACA has over $20 billion for its Best in America mortgage, with $15 billion from Bank of America. NACA has made over 75,000 mortgages and has a foreclosure rate over more than 20% 20 years of 0.00012 or about 1/100%, and over 90% of the NACA homeowners are people of color. Moreover, through its Home Save program, NACA is helping individuals in financial distress stay in their homes. For instance, during the financial crisis, NACA modified the high-interest mortgage loans of over 500,000 homeowners, saving them from losing their homes. However, NACA has not rested on its laurels. After reinventing mortgage lending, NACA is now revolutionizing housing development across the country by combining America's best mortgage with the next generation of modular technology. NACA's CEO and founder, Bruce Marks, explains.
When you can build modular homes at the highest standard out there, that's affordable, that has to meet the state and federal code standards and far exceeds that, that's a game changer. That's why NACA is partnering with NACA to accomplish that nationwide.
The way we do that is by building a very efficient, strong thermal envelope using a proprietary technology that we developed. It's a panel-based technology that has a much higher insulation value. It is much stronger, so it's climate resilient in high forces like high winds, in hurricanes and earthquakes. It allows us to achieve really high thermal values, including net zero homes, meaning homes that do not have any net use of energy off of the grid. We build these homes completely in the factory, including the flooring, the finishes, electrical, everything you would typically do on site. We're delivering it complete from the factory. The only thing that you're doing on site would be the foundation.
Another transformative program developed by NACA allows homeownership through public housing assistance called HOT PHA. This program allows participants who seek to become homeowners to combine their housing choice vouchers with all the benefits of the NACA mortgage. This is in addition to local government assistance to purchase a home and own it free and clear in 15 to 20 years. NACA has partnered with cities like Newark, New Jersey, and Selma, Alabama to make this a reality to thousands of housing choice voucher recipients. Bruce Marks explains how Aracelis Maldonado, a housing choice voucher recipient from Newark, is benefiting from this program.
Because she has the Section 8 voucher, that means that over a $1,200 a month mortgage, of which she purchased a house for $185,000, that her payment is $250. About $1,000 is going to be paid by the housing authority. But in 15 years, she's going to have over $200,000 in wealth. The Section 8 is what supplements the income to allow her to be a homeowner.
He took city properties and hired local Black and brown developers as contractors to renovate them, and then turned them over to new homeowners that once lived in public housing using their Section 8 voucher with the help of investor, and
I was blessed when I got my Section 8. I dreamed of my house, and I'm even more blessed that I waited 20 years later to find more wonderful people and the NACA program. Now I'm a homeowner, and you guys don't even know.
We have 5 houses that you have so graciously placed here even before they were financed. And so I just want to say thank you for that, for believing in the community to take a risk in the city of Selma. And so for that, we support the efforts. And for that, we're going to make sure that we transform this entire neighborhood and neighborhoods behind it, surrounding it, and make sure that people who once did not think that they become a homeowner now have a realistic opportunity of becoming a homeowner. The product that NACA brings to Selma is a product that we can share across the country. And so we are energized to use our Section 8 voucher to help our voucher holders become homeowners.
NACA has reinvented mortgage lending, and now we're going to reinvent affordable housing development for working people nationwide in America.
Everybody, there was some background music that was not playing in there, but that's okay.
¿Está cansado de pagar un alquiler alto? Compre una vivienda con la mejor
Okay, if we can stop that. Okay. Is it okay if we can show the next slide, Ebony?
Yes,
Great, thank you.
sure. One moment.
Okay, so what we're gonna, on the next slide, so these are the different programs that we are doing. So we're gonna talk about our mortgage. That's the 1 to 4 family homes. You can purchase and renovate a home like the 203K program, the hot PHA, the home ownership through public housing assistance, the new construction, the $1 program, the HBCUs that we're working with. So if we can show the next slide, Ebony, that would be great. The next slide after that. Okay, if you can show the one on the that is a NACA mortgage.
The campaign,
No. The one that is about the NACA mortgage.
these are the only slides. that
I don't
have-
think they included it.
Oh,
that
oh,
one.
oh, okay, so let me explain that. So we have, people have heard about, they have heard about the NACA mortgage. So what it is that we have one mortgage product. And that is, it is a no down payment, no closing costs, no fees at a below market fixed rate. Today's rate for a 30-year fix is 6%. For a 15 and 20, it's 5.55%. We never take into account anyone's credit score. So we pull the tri-merge and then we look at the payments that someone controls. So for example, we would not take into account anybody's late payment on a medical bill, because that's something that they don't control. That's really that's a function of an unaffordable, dysfunctional healthcare system. So again, it is factually the best mortgage in the country. And we can say that because we are a nonprofit mortgage broker. So we're licensed in all 50 states. And sometimes the regulators will push back and they say, how can you say it's the best mortgage in the country, and look at our material? And we push back and we say, do your homework. And it is, because it overcomes the major roadblocks to affordable home ownership. Number one, it's tough for people to save, so there's no down payment and there's no closing costs. Number two is restrictive underwriting. We focus on the last 12 months of payment history up to, and then maybe 24 months, but focusing on the last 12, and never considering their credit score, as we talked about. Unaffordable terms, always at a very low interest rate, way below market, and it's always fixed rate. And last is, we're an advocacy organization, so we fight predatory, discriminatory lending. We've done over 75,000 mortgages, and we have a foreclosure rate of 0.00012, about 100th of 1%. Ebony, if you can go back to the first slide that you're showing about the different programs, because then we can talk more about, thank you. So, obviously on the rate purchase program, it's 1 to 4 family, so it's, multi-units as well. And a big deal is, as most of the lenders are no major lender is doing the 203K program, virtually none are doing that. So, we do it where, we do an inspection, obviously, with every property. For repairs that be done after they close, we have a team, the hand team, and they oversee and help the homeowner during the renovation. Let me get into a little bit more details about the Section 8. So, housing choice voucher, what we call the hot PHA, home ownership through public housing assistance. It, as Bruce said, very well, it's a game changer. So one of the reasons why the, Section 8 has not, for home ownership, has not worked, and as Bruce said, than 10,000 people have it. And most of the people that of that 10,000 actually are at the higher income of Section 8, not high income people, but the higher income who are probably going to income out within the 15-year period. And that's important because, you know, if you have a 20-year or more term, the payment will only last for 15 years. So you have a financial cliff. So by definition, someone's going to lose their house unless they income out in 15 years. And so that's a real problem. So what we got to do, oh, and I should mention of our mortgage product, we have $20 billion of that mortgage product, 15 billion from Bank of America. So we're not short of money. And, you know, we do this around the country. We also provide services in all 50 states. So when going back to the hot PHA, so we do a 20-year term. So now you have a 5-year gap, because if you did a 30-year mortgage, and obviously, you know, if someone is elderly or if they are disabled, then the payment will be for 30 years. But if they're not elderly or disabled, then the payment ends at 15 years. So no one with a Section 8 who is not going to income out would really do the home ownership, because they would have their Section 8 for life when they're going to lose it after 15 years. But by having a 20-year term, and then in many cases, you can get a mortgage payment that's even less than the payment standard. So really, in a lot of cases, in 15 years, they'd own that house outright without having a mortgage payment. So after that, so it's really a game changer. And we're working with over 20 housing authorities nationwide, and that's growing every day. Obviously, you saw what we're doing in Selma. We're doing that in Newark, New Jersey. We did outreach in Newark. You know, they have 80, I think it's 6,500 people with a housing choice voucher. About 1,000 people have come to workshops because it's really a game changer for them. In Selma, we're probably going to do over 100 loans there this year. So it makes sense, because actually the regs are pretty good on this. So the regs are not too bad. I mean, you know, as Bruce says, there are things that need to change, but they're not necessarily roadblocks to really make this work. And so it just makes sense. It makes sense for the housing authority, because clearly now you're going to get people out of the government dependency, and you're going to get access. You're going to get a new voucher, because you can recycle that voucher in 15 years. Obviously, it makes sense for the person with Section 8, because coming from virtually no wealth, they're going to have over in many cases over $200,000 in wealth in 15 years. And, you know, it makes sense for the lender, because you're doing a faster appreciation and you got the government support. So the only thing you're doing with a Section 8 that's different in than on the standard counseling is you're really subsidizing the income. Everything else stays the same. All the counseling stays the same, but it's easier counseling because you don't have to determine a mortgage payment. That's already determined by the number of bedrooms and, you know, by the number of bedrooms that is already determined by that person with a Section 8. And then, you know, every year, and now it's going up, now it might be every 2 years, the housing authority will do an evaluation and might change the portion or the amount that the person with a Section 8 has to pay, but the payment standard stays the same. And we've been able to get, housing authorities have requested from HUD and have gotten from HUD the ability to do for the home ownership a payment standard that's 120% of the fair market rents. Now, we're trying to get HUD to increase that to 135% of the fair market rent. And so we're, HUD has not been all that great in terms of being responsive to our request or for changes, but we'll see. Hopefully they'll pay more attention to this, as Bruce has said, and as you guys organize around this. But just to give you an example, if you have a payment standard for a 4-bedroom of $2,564, and that has gone up, and that changes in a lot of areas. Someone would qualify for $328,000. I mean, so you can work it out. So there is housing to be purchased by people with Section 8 in Selma for a 3-bedroom. The payment standard is $1,350. That allows someone to purchase a house for $169,000 in Selma. So that really is a game changer there. So when you talk about the new construction, so what we're doing on the new construction, and we really were reluctant to get into this because we said, our focus has been on counseling, our focus has been on the mortgage stuff, reinventing that, and on the advocacy that we do, taking on predatory lenders. So we sort of, reluctantly got into the housing development because there hasn't been affordable housing being built on scale. So what we started to do and, focus in on probably the poorest city in the country, and frankly, the toughest street in the poorest city in the country, that's Selma and Washington Street, where the Washington Street gang used to control that street with a violent history. So we have put down 5 houses now. We're going to put down in that area probably about 100, changing that whole area with beautiful modular built homes. And these homes are 9-foot ceilings, highest quality, the ones that are basically being bought by very high income home buyers. And we're getting them built for $85 a square foot.
I
So
need
you-
to interrupt you just
Sure.
very quickly, Bruce. I'm so sorry. So a couple of reminders. First, I want to remind everybody to put their questions into the Q&A box so that I don't lose track of them. And I want to remind the NACA people, please don't write the answers to the questions in the Q&A box because I'm going to ask them at the end anyway. And again, I don't want to lose track of them. Thank you. Sorry, Bruce, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. And I will wrap up soon so we can answer the questions, because I think it's always best to, have a discussion and to delve into the details of it. So, so it's $85 a square foot. So let's say you take, this house that you can see there, that is a 3-bedroom, 1,450 square foot house. That costs $118,500 to produce. Then when you put together the transportation and you're building the foundation, so this gets done in about 6 weeks. So as you are producing the house and the plans and all that, you're building the piers and the foundation. So you're really talking about a total cost of about $150,000. And so, and that comes out to about a mortgage payment of about $1,100. That's what we're doing, and to do it on scale. So that's what we're doing on the new construction. But one of the ways it works on the new construction is the $1 program that we're doing in Newark, New Jersey. We're doing in Selma, Lima, Ohio, and around the country. And the $1 program is we're saying to the cities and towns that own properties, you drive around and you see, all these vacant lots and these abandoned houses. And who owns them? In the vast majority of cases, it's the city or town or land bank or someplace that owns them. So we're saying instead of selling them to a developer, sell them to a home buyer for $1. So you're eliminating the developer fees, you're eliminating the overhead because it goes straight to the home buyer for $1. And then we're providing, or anybody can provide the financing for the new construction or the renovation. So we're doing major renovations in Newark, for example, that are $300,000 to $500,000 renovations, but they're multifamily and certainly they will be affordable. And then obviously in other places we're doing the new construction. So that's the $1 program. So you're eliminating the overhead, which is a lot of money, and the profit to a developer who's really not adding all that much value. And you're working with the contractors from the neighborhoods, from the areas, and you're doing that on the $1 program. So it goes straight from the city or the entity that owns that property straight to the home buyer, and we are providing the financing. We are working with HBCUs around the country. So that's a big part of what we do. We do the landlord training, and we have a big training department, HUD funded and approved, where, we get people through to be HUD certified. And obviously, and you have to work at NACA, we help people as a housing counselor, as a NACA counselor, to become licensed as a mortgage loan originator, MLO. I can talk about, let me stop there and answer any questions. I can talk about the campaigns that we're doing going forward, but I think maybe it makes sense to talk about this, and then we can talk about what we're going to be doing in the future, if that makes sense, Ellie, to do it that way.
Sure. So there's several questions that Diego and DJ already answered in writing, but I am going to be asking them out loud anyway. So we'll be going through those again, and hopefully I won't miss any. We'll see how we do. Can you provide loans for community land trust home buyers?
Yes, absolutely. And we think that's really important because that keeps those houses affordable. And and that's what you want to do. You want to keep the affordability. So absolutely. And when we talk about the new construction as well, remember this is not manufactured housing or mobile homes. These are modular homes. But anyway, yes.
Are the borrowers restricted to stay in the home for 15 years, or can they sell or refinance in less than 15 years?
They can sell and refinance at any time that they want, and that's true for any of the programs that we have. But we prevent investors from coming in and flipping the houses. So if someone sells it within 5 years for a profit, then they have to pay a portion of that back. Because one of the problems we've had is that we've had investors coming in trying to come in, get access to our mortgage, and as I said, flipping the properties. But yes, you can sell at any time that you want.
And then right along the same line, so are there restrictions on the resale value, and is this an assumable loan?
It's not an assumable loan, but people can sell it, as I said, but as long as it's not an investor trying to flip it.
And are people able to apply for the NACA mortgage now with a housing choice voucher?
I mean, yes, and we are, working with housing authorities, because that's the key part. And we haven't had actually it's the opposite. We've had a really exciting, a lot of the housing authorities are now really open to it because now they see the examples of what we're doing in, Newark and Selma and really around the country. So we're working now with over 20 housing authorities. Because before, and they sort of come back and they say, well, they're learning that it's no more work for them because, we're doing the counseling. And obviously, a lot of people on this call would do the counseling as well. So, and the mortgage makes sense. And you don't have to have be part of the FSS program, the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. So we are, working with them. So as long as the housing authority is on board, absolutely anywhere in the country.
So the closing fees and other fees aren't paid by the borrower. Who covers those required fees? Is it incorporated in the loan? Is it considered a 100% financing loan?
So it is paid for by the bank. So it's not included in the loan. It is absolutely paid for by the bank. They eat the cost. And that's the program. So it's at the lowest rate. It's not included in the cost. Bank eats it. And we get it done. And then we can access the down payment assistance program to buy down the interest rate on very aggressive terms and to reduce the outstanding principal to make it even more affordable.
So Diego and DJ, I just want to again ask you not to write answers to these questions because I'm going to say them out loud anyway.
Okay.
How do we get the directors of housing authorities on board? So I will say one thing we've put it into the chat a couple of times and Christy can put it in again. On June 27th, we're going to have a webinar that is very deep dive into the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher for Homeownership program. And we're looking for people to kind of join us and help us expand into your area to get your housing authority to get involved. They right now there are only 600 public housing authorities that have it in their work plan to use housing choice vouchers for homeownership, and we are really trying to increase that. But anyway, Bruce, I'll let you or Diego or DJ answer that question.
Yeah, and let me turn that over to Diego, and you might want to show your screen, Diego, about how you do the calculation for that as well.
Yes, glad to do it if I'm allowed to present.
Okay, one moment.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
So good afternoon. I'm going to go over a little bit in detail about our HUD PHA program designed for housing choice vouchers that recipients that want to convert their voucher from rent to purchase. As I was explained, this is any housing authority could do that if they include this in their plans. And I have an example here. As we know, low-income home buyers have many restrictions at the time to become homeowners. Some of those are already addressed by the general NACA mortgage that provides 100% financing, no closing costs, interest rate below market. There is no mortgage insurance and no credit score consideration, which is one of the big challenges sometimes for low-income families. So we use character-driven underwriting approach. We don't use the traditional risk-driven underwriting based on credit scores. So that's for all the NACA mortgages. But then how we operate when we're doing the HUD PHA loans using the voucher. So I use an example here. When you can see the housing authority payment standard in my example is for one bedroom, $1,000 and go up to $1,800 for the 4 bedrooms. And I'm saying that the participant income is $2,500 a month. And this person has $280 debt every month. They have to pay, let's say, a credit card or a card note. So in the traditional world, somebody asked in the questions if any lender can work with a HCB recipients. Yes, technically they could if they want, right? We're talking about FHA loans and conventional loans. But all of them underwrite these loans using the half payment as an income. So in my example, if a regular home buyer is applying for the loan with them, well, they're going to get a 30-year loan. That is the first issue, and I'll come back to that in a second. And then what they're going to do is going to underwrite the gross monthly income for this person. In my example is $2,500, and they're going to take the voucher they have, and they're going to add it as additional income. So as we know, is about 70% because the other 30% approximately is covered by the member for the home buyer, right? And they will get $3,250 for as an income for this loan. And then they take the full payment that I'm using, in my case, $1,500, they add the monthly debts and they calculate the DTI. In this case, in my example, would be 55%. Home buyer wouldn't qualify for that loan. So in this example, the home buyer couldn't use the full amount for the payment standard that is approved right now. Because in a conventional loan, the DTI normally goes up to 43%, and the FHA recommended maximum DTI, I'm sorry, it's the opposite. It's 43% for the recommended FHA, and in a conventional, it's at 45%. So if the loan will be declined, if they're trying to have a $1,500 mortgage payment. The way that we do the calculations is we ask the housing authorities to send their portion they have directly to the lender. So it's not considered income, it's considered a mortgage payment reduction, a PITI reduction. So we don't have to underwrite that piece. What we do is we take the member portion, that's what they're gonna pay every month, plus their current active debts, and same numbers in my example, and then you can see the total monthly liabilities, and the way we do it is less. Therefore, the DTI is only 41%, and it wouldn't have this person wouldn't have any problem to qualify for the NACA mortgage. We allowed up to 43% debt to income ratio. So that's the underwriting piece that is key in this program, and more on this challenging seller's market. But as we all know, in most subsidies, the prices are very high, so people need every dollar to qualify for any property. And then we want to give them, we give them a 20-year mortgage. Why? Because as everybody knows, if you take a 20 or more years mortgage, the benefit, the voucher will be available for 15 years. So we don't want them to have a 15 years gap in their financing when they get a 30 years loan. And if the PITI, the final mortgage payment, in this case that is this payment standard, is less than the $1,500 in my example, we can use that difference between the final mortgage payment and the payment standard for principal reduction to accelerate the payoff of the mortgage. And we can get closer, or as close as 15 years. So at the end of the 15 year, this home buyer that was renting and receiving assistance will have a property payoff and with all the equity available for them. In the worst case, when they need to take the 20-year mortgage, they will have only 5 years left, and with 75% of the balance of their mortgage already paid off. So they will be in a much, much better financial circumstances. I don't know if there is any question about this information.
Well, there's lots of other questions. There might be some questions that come in about the information that you did.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So I'm gonna stop presenting.
Okay. Okay. All right. So can these new builds include a basement?
Yes, absolutely. So you wouldn't do a basement in Selma, but you would do a basement in Newark, or in the Northeast and other places. So and these homes are customized for the particular area. And so they fit into the neighborhood. So for the homes we're doing in Newark, those are 2-story modular homes. The ones we're doing in Lime, Ohio are different than the ones that we're doing in Selma. So there's a large variety that you can choose from, but you got to fit into the neighborhood. And that includes, where it's appropriate putting in the basement. Now that adds a little bit more cost on the foundation, but not huge more.
Okay. NACA does not accept a HUD-approved housing counseling agency's first-time home buyer class. Consequently, the closest class to Shreveport Bossier is Dallas, Texas. They are not going to drive to Dallas to take this class. And I'll add, consider that there are people who don't have easy access to technology.
So the way that we do it is that has been an issue. So while we have 48 offices, we do the self-paced, home buyer workshop. So you don't have to go to an event. So a lot of people, probably Diego, you can tell me better, about half the people or more are now doing the self-paced workshop.
Yes, we didn't expect that, and yes, I would say more than that now are going for the
Okay.
50%.
And that's
So-
an online version?
Yes. So we have about 15,000 people starting our program every month. We have 3.7 million members. And so, you do the self-pace, and then we can do, the video counseling. We certainly believe that people need to have the opportunity to do face-to-face counseling. But you can do it in Shreveport or any part of America by doing the self-paced home buyer workshop and the video counseling. So, and we're licensed in all 50 states.
Does NACA ever partner with local HUD-approved housing counseling agencies? And if not, why?
Oh, we absolutely do. So, we do these, what we call Achieve the Dream events. So I can say that NACA I started NACA 40 years ago. I can say that NACA was only an absolute success in June of 2019. Because what happened then is we started to do these Achieve the Dream events. And we did them in New York City and in Chicago, Los Angeles, in Atlanta and Memphis. And like in New York City, we had over 20,000 home buyers come over a 5-day period. And during these events, we do the 4 steps. You do a home buyer workshop, step 1, you would upload your information, step 2. You meet with a counselor, step 3, and meet with a NACA underwriter, step 4, in one day. And we had over 20,000 people, for example, in New York City, as I said, as well as in Atlanta and Los Angeles, other places. And it was all word of mouth. It was no media. It was no outreach. It was people telling their family, friends, neighbors, others to come to NACA. And so that way we've done, but we've always invited all the HUD-approved counseling agencies and other agencies to come to these events. Because, the more people that are doing affordable home ownership and counseling, absolutely the better. We have tried in the past to say to, people, if you want to use our CMS, we would be open to, doing that, but it's documented counseling. Because, people are hamstrung by having to use Counselor Max, which is a piece of crap, as we know. And so, yes, the answer to your question is absolutely, but come to one of the events and, and you can set up and, and if there's an issue of, getting credit for HUD as a counselor or whatever, take the credit. We have so many people coming through that's never an issue.
Okay, can any lender work with housing choice voucher, or is it only a select few? One of the things I want to say in answer to this is that actually housing choice vouchers is a source of income, and it is an ECOA violation for a lender to say that they will not lend to somebody who has a housing choice voucher and that they will not consider it So it is every lender who should be including it. And if you hear from a lender that they will not do it, you should file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, because they absolutely are required to consider all forms of income. And I
if
don't
you
know,
talk
Bruce,
about it-
or
Yeah,
I don't know if
that's
either
a,
Bruce wants to add. Go
That's
ahead.
yeah. The only thing I would say on that, you're exactly right, Ellie. I would just add to that, what's really nice about it is that as a home buyer, they cannot question your source of funds either. So while landlords discriminate against someone wanting to rent from them who has a housing choice Section 8 voucher, if you're a home buyer, the seller or real estate agents has no clue that you're using your Section 8 for the purchase. But you're exactly right. What we believe is important is you need to get lenders to do a 20-year term. That to us was the key breakthrough that we got, as well as some of the underwriting for the people with Section 8.
So, I mean, I would just add that different lenders and different investors approach this differently. So Diego talked about this some, but just to put a finer point on it, your voucher holder is in a much better situation if they're being underwritten, where you take the PITI that's due, directly subtract from it what the subsidy is, and the remainder, what they're actually paying, is what you approve for a mortgage. And Diego did a very good job walking through that and the alternative, which is that that the lender treats the payment as an increase in household income rather than deducting it directly from PITI. And what that means is that you'll have a higher back end ratio, because you'll have the whole household income will be higher, but it's nowhere near the value of having the what's called offset, or minusing the subsidy directly from the payment and improving them on that. And I'll just underscore one other thing, which Diego pointed out, and that is that the critical thing there too is that the payment by the PHA should go directly to the lender. We'll talk about this more in the webinar and next month, but essentially the state of the art, even a few years ago, was that there was no way to consolidate the payments, and lenders couldn't handle two payments. And so if you send it to the homeowner, they consolidate the payments, send it to the lender. And that means you're treating it as income. But today, and we have computers now, and they can easily handle two payments. And the sending that payment directly to the lender is by far, you're getting a much better advantage. And some of this is the decision by the lender, but some of it's by the investor. So Fannie and Freddie today don't approve of, will only treat it as income. We think it's a wrong-headed approach. We've applied for them to fix this directly to Fannie and Freddie and to FHFA. It's under study. But FHA, so the government loan, FHA, they do offset, and it means that people have a much better deal. Portfolio lenders like Bank of America do offset as long as it's going straight to the lender. I know that M&T does it as well. And we're looking for others that may do it that way. So that's a key component. And all of this affordability has a lot to do with how much the rental subsidy is that comes compared to what the affordability housing prices are. We're trying to get a better sense of where the sweet spots are that these all work. But in most of your localities, this could actually be working out, and it's nice to hear that the NACA is reaching out to a bunch of housing authorities. Partly, one of the challenges is changing the culture. Many of these are places that see rental as their essential business, homeownership is not. And we're working on a culture change. But one of the advantages to being in the era of the Biden administration is that wealth building is a big portion of their agenda. And this is a place where rubber hits the road, where you can really build wealth, and housing authorities need to kind of embrace some of that. So, so all these lender questions are perfectly right. And some of them we have solutions for already.
Okay, so there's a lot of questions in here specific to the housing choice voucher program, which I'm going to go to other questions that are specific to NACA first, mainly because we do have that webinar on the 27th where that's what the topic is. So let me just, let's see. You mentioned in the video that you had 0 foreclosures. During the pandemic financial crisis, did you have any delinquency in your portfolio, or did you automatically modify the loans before they became delinquent?
So, yeah, so, I mean, it's not true that we had 0 foreclosure. So over the 75,000 and more mortgages, there were a handful that were foreclosed on. But it included during the mortgage crisis. So, we have a post-purchase assistance program, where we do counseling. So we get a report from the lender every Friday of anybody who's late. It could be 4 days late, or they could be 40 days late or more. And we would, and we would work with them. And, obviously, we were able to modify some of the mortgages and do a forbearance with some. But, we got them current and we work with them to get current. But I think the key part is when we do it, it's always an affordable payment. So we don't lend based on the credits on the ratios. We do it based on what someone is paying in rent and what they save over a period of time, the payment shock. And so with the comprehensive counseling, what you guys do, they are qualified for an affordable mortgage payment. And then we will work with them. But no, it's one of the best performances, if not the best performance of any mortgage portfolio in the country. And that's sort of, I think the reflection of that is why Bank of America, why they continue with Brian Moynihan. We first started working with Hugh McCall way back when. And why Brian Moynihan at Bank of America and Bank of America staff are so supportive of what we do. And have provided more and more billions and billions of dollars. The other thing is NACA is really not a mortgage broker. We're really a correspondent. We do the whole process. So we do the counseling, or we do the workshops, we do the counseling, then we get someone NACA qualified, then we help with the housing search, we do the bank application, we underwrite the mortgage, and we close it. So even though it closes in the lender's name, we do virtually all the work. So when we submit an application to the bank, virtually 100% of the applications we submit to the bank get approved and funded. So it's the comprehensive approach. And then you obviously have inspections and all those things. So, the one thing that you don't cover will come back to bite you. And that's why the performance is so good, and why we have, such a huge amount of money to lend out.
Okay, so somebody who's already kind of asked some questions about your Louisiana locations said that they hand out the NACA qualification criteria in their home buyer class, and they're just wondering, is the Baton Rouge office reopened, and are there any other NACA locations in Louisiana other than New Orleans?
So we have the Baton, Baton Rouge is certainly open. In the last 6 weeks, we've hired 52 more counselors. And we are, hiring more now. So, as I said, so we're going to be, over the next, so we're going to hire another more than 50 over the next 6 to 8 weeks. and just growing. You know, we're in a good position to, you know, help more and more home buyers. And there is affordable housing out there. And we are working on that. And I can talk a little bit about the campaign. So the new campaigns, I mean, obviously we were in the forefront of fighting predatory lending. So back in the 1980s, we actually coined the term predatory lending in the campaign in Dorchester, part of Boston, where these contractors were targeting elderly Black homeowners, stealing the equity of their homes. So we took on that campaign and we took on Fleet and won that and took on these other predators. The new campaign is against these corporate landlords. So we've done the research, and I can show anybody who wants to see it, where we've identified the census tracts that are more than 50% minority. And there are 27,000 census tracts that are more than 50% minority. And then we said, let's see who is buying up the properties, because obviously we know about the racist appraisals. Well, what that does is it undervalues properties in the minority communities. And then we look to see who's buying it. So we have identified 330,000 properties that are owned by these corporate landlords, Blackstone, Invitation Homes, and others. So we're doing a mass outreach to those renters. We don't know the renters' names, but we know the properties. So we're sending the mailers and we're outreaching on those properties. Because people don't realize that on that street, that while they're paying their rent to a, you know, management company, the entity behind it are these very wealthy, predatory corporate landlords. So we're doing that campaign against them. We're also doing a campaign against people who are doing these zombie mortgages. So during the mortgage crisis, people got a modification and they thought everything is fine now, making the mortgage payment and all that. But what's happened is that the mortgages that they were modified were sold to these private equity people for pennies on the dollar. And now they're going back at the homeowners saying, you owe us $50,000, $100,000 or more, and they're taking their homes. So we're going after them as well. Plus, as I said, we're just growing by, we are growing. But I want to be clear on something, because there is a perception out there that we don't work with other players. That's not true. So when we do the events and we do all that, we welcome everybody to come. It cannot be around turf. There's so much of a need out there that, we need more and more entities to do it and do counseling the right way, comprehensive, documented counseling. Because the need is, as you know, is huge. Sometimes we get into the stuff, or people get into stuff around turf. That should never be an issue out there. So, we appreciate the opportunity to be on this call and to, talk about it. So it's not about NACA. It's not all about NACA. It's about what is needed to help as many people as possible on a large scale.
Okay, is this a condo? If this is a condo or townhome with monthly assessments, is this amount included? I think this is related to the housing choice voucher.
I think the question is if it's included in the mortgage payment calculation. And it is, obviously those are not paid with a mortgage every month, but we include those fees in the maximum affordable mortgage payment. Yes.
And I have to add one thing, to show you the support we have from the Selma Housing Authority. Kennard, who runs that, he came and he said, you know what? We're so excited about that. We're going to give away a house. So the Housing Authority bought the house for $169,000 to give it away to someone who was impacted by the tornado that wiped out this community on January 12th of 2023. And I can show you the video if you want to see it. I mean, the woman fainted when we had a lottery. So that's just to say, that these housing authorities, once they get in, and it's not easy to get them on board because it's one of those things that sounds too good to be true. But once you can demonstrate that this works, you'll have the housing authority doing all kinds of things, including giving away a house for $169,000, worth $169,000.
Bruce, can you talk a little bit,
Sure.
or Diego, wherever, about the weather resiliency of
Oh, sorry.
the roofs that you're building? And well, why don't we start with that?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about this. So what you saw in the video is that these are, insulated panels. I mean, they're hard as rock, the panels, and then on the inside. So they save at a minimum 75% of the energy costs. Obviously, you got heat pumps and all that save energy as well. So if you were to put, so you're reducing your cost by 75%, and then you can put on solar, so it's a net positive. So you're adding it on to the grid. So it's
But these are
and
not
then
solar homes you're building, right? These are conventional roofs. And it's
but you can't put solar on the factory because it would be destroyed as you transport it to where you're going. But we are putting solar on some of the houses once it gets on site for that. And these are certified. I forget, it's called the Green Star or it's the something star, but these are the highest energy efficient star rated houses, which are inspected and to do that. Yes.
Okay, but here's the issue is, and where modular housing lands on, hail and heavy storms and flooding and all those kind of questions.
So what we showed you, and we can show more of the detail, is that house that you saw that was subject to, Hurricane Dorian, which is considered the strongest hurricane in history. It was the only house standing. So, not only that, but because these are built on piers, 35 piers that are strapped down. So when you do a stick built, the really foundation or the underside of the house is not that solid because it's just on the stick built. When you build modular, remember, it has to come off the factory floor. It has to be transported on these trailers going 70, 80 miles an hour. So it's very solid. And then they're strapped down on 35 piers and inspected. So this is more stable because obviously it's a big issue in Selma in terms of not just Selma, but in that area around the tornadoes. So this is much more secure. It's not going to fly away with whatever tornado comes versus any stick built.
And one of the other issues around this, one of the costs on modular that's not on stick built is the transportation cost.
Yes.
And I think you have the advantage of having a manufacturer who's relatively close to Selma. But,
right.
And the next step, people kind of have this formula of an hour to an hour and a half transportation without major, overpass blockages, et cetera.
Yeah.
So is that something within solution, or do you have to target where you're doing it, or what's your thinking on that?
So these houses, these ones come from Georgia. They come from Lakeland, Georgia, the Vantum factory there. And so that cost about $7,000 to $8,000 on the transportation cost. We are looking at other places in Alabama, which would reduce that cost to probably a couple of $1,000s. The houses we're building in the Northeast would not be built out of Vantum. They'd be built out of other facilities, which are a lot closer. Frankly, Bruce, we were looking at actually buying a factory, and we still might at some point. but we want to do this, we want to do this nationwide. So yes, you're right. You want a factory that is in the reasonable proximity of where you're doing the housing. And some of the cities that we've talked to have been interested in actually funding the building of a factory in their city and in their area.
I
So we're
think,
working with them on that.
yeah, and I totally, it's sort of an idea we've encouraged as well for cities to think about that as being a component. And have you run into the problem, which I know others have run into, which is that people don't trust houses that aren't stick built, that they have perceptions around manufactured housing kinds of things? What's your experience there?
So that's why if you look at that housing here, it's on the slide, you couldn't tell that that was a modular house. To do that. So we funded ourselves the 5 houses that are there because you had to prove to people, what they're like, because you're right, there's a perception, but they get it confused by manufactured housing or mobile housing. So people don't make the distinction between a modular versus a manufacturer. Remember, the manufacturer is at the HUD code. Not a bad house. Tough to get financing on, but it's not at the highest standard that you would do out there. So you have to show them. So what we're doing in cities is that we're actually funding the building of the first homes as a showcase so people can, get comfortable. But you're absolutely correct that you have to get past that that initial impression.
Right, and counselors have a role in this, it's, you're not gonna wait somebody who's dead set against it, but it is sort of partly how we frame these issues and think about them. And the technology has really gotten a lot better. And one of the things that that modular housing and these factory built houses have going as an advantage is there's much less waste. There's the labor is somewhat less, but they can be built much tighter than previously done. The one thing I'd recommend is NACA does have a very good video where you have somebody who walks you through one of the houses.
Yep.
And that part's very impressive. I mean, it's a very nice house, fully outfitted with microwave and appliances and all those things. But it's a very nice looking space. And these are 3 bedrooms. What are the size of the Selma houses?
Yeah, so the one you see now, that's a 3 bedroom. We do the two bedroom, and you can do the 1 bedroom or the 4 bedroom. I mean, you could do all kinds of things. You can do 1 or 2 stories, even more. And we think a big answer for homeless housing is you can do not these tiny homes, but you can do a really nice 400 to 500 square foot home that's affordable, and just at a high quality, and and then you do it in a condensed area so people can get services there as well.
Okay, I know we're running out of time here. I think I just want to step back here. Ellie?
Yeah. I mean, we have 2 minutes left, so I actually put into the chat direct email for Bruce Marks and Diego Luque. So if there are other questions that you have that you'd like to have answered, you can email them directly. And then a lot of the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher questions that you all asked, you can join us on June 27th, and I promise they're going to get answered, because that's exactly the kinds of things that we're going to be talking about and reviewing in our June 27th webinar. So with that, I'm going to hand it back now to Bruce Dorpalen to just wrap us up. And thanks again to NACA for coming on and talking about your program. Go ahead, Bruce.
So if I can just add just one thing. Yeah, I mean, thank you, Bruce, Ellie, and everybody. I mean, for the opportunity. We'd like to follow up with everybody. Go to our website. We have these NACA Achieve the Dream events. We have one in Hartford, May 30th. When is it? It's
31st
Friday.
to the 2nd. Friday
So
through Sunday.
Yeah. So we have that there. We're doing it around the country, Memphis, other places around the country. Come to our events. We'd love you to see it or to participate in whatever way that you feel comfortable to do that. And to work with everybody. And as Bruce said, just to reinforce, the Section 8 piece is a game changer. And the more housing authorities we can get on board for that, the, better. So everybody, thank you for the opportunity. We certainly appreciate it.
And I'll just say out loud to everybody as a reminder that the recording of the webinar, all the links and the PowerPoint will go out in an email to our listserv. You'll have it by the end of the day on Tuesday, since Monday is a holiday. And back
Okay.
to you, Bruce or Pam.
Yep. Good. Okay. So you know what we do. You can participate by joining NHRC. We desperately need the money. It gives us the flexibility to do the things that aren't typically funded. We are, and we're having a hard time right now, so you should definitely get on board if you're not. There's lots of benefits. Ellie walked through them. The tri-merge credit reports are really the best tri-merge deal there is out there. And for housing counseling agencies, it's you have to be a HUD approved housing counseling agency to qualify, but we have a special deal with CoreLogic Credco. There's the Savvy program. Ellie's working on wiring a couple other new ones, and we're always open to ideas. If you've got something, we do an occasional email out about an unusual funding source you might not know about that could apply to housing counseling. But the real reason to do this is to support this work. We will continue to push the cutting edge issues of our field. We will continue fighting for housing counseling and the work that Christy does in Congress and with regulators. We will continue pushing the envelope, and we want you to be on the webinar on the end of June, the 27th. And please bring your whole staff to that. We need to be a major force in the field for creating more Section 8 homeownership voucher opportunities. Big thanks to NACA and their crew for sharing their work and expertise. And we all will be in touch. We've actually got a bunch of other things in the pipeline. Ellie, do you want to just say what the other webinars are coming up? 2 weeks, it's Habitat for Humanity. They've got their own, they've just done an assessment in the field of their various factory built, offsite built housing and what's worked. They want to share their lessons with us. It's actually going to be quite a deep dive, and they have a whole framework of how they do these things and their reputation. And they're, I think, very open to partnerships. So that's an opportunity. We have been working with them. They're part of our Section 8 Homeownership Voucher Coalition. They were in from day one. They're very excited about this program, want to use it more. We've learned a lot from what they've learned in the field and use some of their work as examples. So that'll be interesting, but it'll really be about offsite housing, affordable housing construction. And the big push will be at the end of the month. Ellie, do you want to just hit on what the other coming features are?
Sure. On June 20th, we have Terry Carr from the Office of Housing Counseling, who's going to give us some updates on the outreach work they're doing to get the word out about the benefits of getting involved with housing counseling, the Let's Make Home the Goal program. We talked about what's happening on the 27th. On July 11th, we have some folks from National Housing Law Project and National Consumer Law Center talking about the home energy rebate program that is rolling out this summer. On 25th, we're going to have a wider conversation with National Association of Realtors and Urban Institute about the NAR settlement and what it means for housing counselors. On August 8th, we're going to hear from Steve Sharp at National Consumer Law Center about the VA Special Purchasing Program, also known as VASP, and he'll give us a little bit more of an update about the FHA program that he talked about last month. On August 22nd, we have Kara Maxud talking about money habitudes. And on September 19th, we have the 2023 State of Hispanic Homeownership Report presented by folks from the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. And that's our summer.